Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us today for our webinar, which is a chat with students from the Faculty of EPS. So just to give you a wee bit of an overview of today, we'll be starting by looking at a video of the faculty, which will just give you more information about some of the courses offered in the facilities. We'll then hear from 3 of our postgrad students within the faculty individually. And then at the end, there'll be the opportunity for you to ask some questions and we can have our students answer them live. Also, just to make you aware, we have 3 members of staff from the faculty recruitment team. So we have Claire, Louise and Anna, and they will be in the chat so they can answer anything course specific. So if you have anything related to, for example, entry requirements, the cost of courses, anything like that, they'll be on hand to answer your questions. So the webinar today should take about an hour. So without any further ado, I'll just play a video of the faculty. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of a taster of what it's like to be a student at Queen's. So today we have 3 willing students. We have Aoife Cahidi, who's studying the MSc in Psychological Sciences. We have John McCulloch, who is studying the MSc in Software Development, and on the same course is also Nicole Dempster. So now we'll have the opportunity to hear a bit of background from each of the students about potentially where they've done their undergraduate and then what actually brought them to Queen's. So if I can now welcome Aoife, who's going to talk you through a bit about her background.
Hi everyone, so my name is Aoife and I'm just completing the Conversion Masters in Psychological Science. So my background before this was, I originally studied physics in Maynooth, and since then I've gone on to become a physics teacher. I actually did my PGC in Queen's years ago, so for the last 7 years I've been a physics teacher. So I guess it's my work with, being involved with the pastoral care team and working with the students in that context that, got me more interested in psychology. So I decided, after thinking about it for quite a long time, I decided to take the plunge last year and, just go ahead and do the conversion course. So like one of the reasons I decided to choose Queen's was because it gives you the graduate basis for membership for the British Psychological Society, because one of the things I'm interested in doing after this is, hopefully going on to pursue clinical psychology. So, having an accredited course was, probably one of the top things on the list. And then also, I've been living in Belfast for almost 10 years at this stage, so it was just so handy that I'm right beside the university, and I've studied there before, so I knew what I was getting into, what the facilities are like, and how the university is run and everything like that. So I knew what I was getting in. It was going to be a really great university to go and study at again. So just those kind of reasons. And then also, I was investigating other courses as well. Some courses, they take 2 years full time. They're only at a diploma level, and they're also an awful lot more expensive. So there was an awful lot of things going in the favour of studying at Queen's. My experience this year has been really good. I'm really glad I took the time out. I actually took a career break from work to come back and study. So that's meant not having an income. But for the sake of 1 year where you get that break from work and get to develop a little bit more, I thought, sure, what's the worst that could happen? But I've really enjoyed the year. The faculty and the School of Psychology have been brilliant. The facilities at Queen's, the graduate school, is amazing. And just the people I've met on the course, there's people from all over the world on my course. So it's been great.
That's great. Aoife, you touched there just on the graduate skills. So some of you on the webinar today may be familiar with our graduate school. It's on the main campus site, and it's available to anyone doing the PGT or PGR courses. So there's lots of additional extracurricular activities that they run. So Aoife, had you been involved with anything in the graduate school, or have you used them to help you along your journey?
Yeah, I've used some of the the consultations, kind of career consultations. I also got involved with a postgraduate led initiative. So you basically you put a proposal to the graduate school, kind of in conjunction with your own school, something that will maybe benefit other postgraduates or people in your own department, and they'll help you with funding to put it on. So I've got involved with that. I'm also going to be doing one of the Management Institute leadership and project management courses. That's going to be in June. It's just my course, the psychology course is incredibly busy, so it's just finding the place to slot it in. So I had to leave it till June just because my timetable is so full. But I'm really looking forward to getting to do that in June.
And then You'd mentioned there about you'd studied, obviously you've done your undergrad, and then you done the PGCE, where you came to Queen's for the PGCE, and then obviously took the next step of studying the Masters. So how have you found the transition, even from the likes of the PGCE into the Masters course? Have you found that, quite a big step up, or did you adjust well to it, or? I suppose I'm somebody who's done an awful lot of, I've done a research master's before, and I've done a couple of degrees, so it wasn't something completely new to me. I guess the difference with the PGCE is incredibly practical. You're in university for blocks, and then you're out, learning to become a teacher by actually being a teacher. So it's much more hands-on, whereas with the Masters, it's much more academically focused. Whereas one of the things that I've liked about how they run the Masters is there's lots of different styles of assessment. So it's not like you're always doing an essay as an assessment. There's essays and group work projects and, portfolios of putting together, work you're doing on statistics and presentations. There's an awful lot of things. So if you're not necessarily, loving doing essays, there's probably something else that is more your cup of tea. So I've kind of liked the just the variety of assessments that are involved, but it's pretty full on in terms of the amount of assessments you are doing. So it's just managing your time and keeping on top of the work. Okay. That's great. Aoife, thanks very much for your input. We'll hear from you later on whenever we open up the question and answer session. If I could now just introduce John. So John McCulloch, he's John, hiya. You're also doing a conversion course, which is the MSc in software development. So if you just want to give us a bit of background about how you came to the course and how you found it so far, that would be great.
Sure. Hi everyone, so my name's John McCulloch. So for my undergraduate, I studied prosthetics and orthotics in Salford in Manchester back in 2010. And I worked for 6 years in prosthetics, and I loved it. I can't argue that I didn't. That wasn't the reason for the change, but I find a lot of the time when I was working with prosthetic components, a big part of that would be there would be code that had led into how they operate and function. And I often find that I was kind of getting jealous that I couldn't see the code or work with that side of it as well. So I guess I went through a period of knowing that I liked prosthetics, but I didn't think it was something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And then I was also, I guess, always wanting to understand a bit more about the code that was going on the background of it. So I spent, I'd say, probably about a year trying to figure out, definitely was that the route I wanted to go down. So I did different online courses and tutorials, enjoyed them a lot, and then spoke to some people, some friends that were currently working in that industry, and asked them also about universities that we'd recommend, and that led me on to the Queen's course. And then I spoke with the director there, Aidan, who gave me some emails, which I really appreciated, to current students, and talked to them back and forth a little bit about their experience and how they found the course. And that kind of led me down the path of choosing Queen's compared to some of the other unis that I had looked at as well. Mainly I liked the fact, I liked the input that Queen's had given me when I had reached out to them. When I had spoken to different friends and then asked for contacts in industry, I spoke to, I think it was a couple of employees at Google and Facebook in Dublin, and both had said they had taken on students from this course from Queen's and highly recommended it. So obviously that's a big bonus to get. So that kind of led me down the path towards Queen's. And then also, I guess after working for a certain period of time, it would be a full year really without an income, which can be a bit scary or a bit daunting. But Belfast is a reasonably cheap city, definitely to live in compared to Dublin or to Galway. So that was definitely a bonus added to it as well. Yeah, I would say I've had a really positive experience. I'm still in it at the moment. We're just starting our dissertation. Our course goes on till September, so we're just working away here. But I would say that definitely I don't regret choosing Queen's at all for the course, and I think it's been ran really well. And I would say even compared to my undergrad, which I was happy with, I would say I've been more impressed with, I guess, the organisation that have gone into preparing the course, the lecture notes that are available to you straight after a lecture, and then also kind of the contact that you get with the lecture staff for if you didn't understand some of the content in the lectures, they're more than happy to go through it with you after, or they kind of will revisit that at each lecture. So I find that it's been a really positive experience. Cheers.
John, thank you very much. That's great. You touched on there, obviously, that you had, been in employment. So I suppose a lot of people sometimes when they think of a master's, they think that, you do your undergrad and then roll straight into the master's. So you've actually shown that, you've been out in employment, getting a wage, kind of thought this is not really where I want to go, and explored some. So that was quite a brave step to take. Hopefully it's not one that you're regretting so far.
No, not at all. I guess it really depends. Like a few of my friends, even in prosthetics, went straight into a master's, but I knew that I wanted to work first and kind of build up a bit of experience. I kind of always thought in my head I would do a master's in prosthetics, but then as time went on, I realized I really wanted to know more about the coding aspect, or I guess the engineering software side. That led me down this path. But one thing I would say is, I guess I was a wee bit nervous of all my, I guess, energy over the last 6 years had been directed to prosthetics. So even like mathematics or even reading like journals and stuff like that was all prosthetic based. So I was a bit nervous of stepping back into a world that feeling I'd be out of my depth. But when I reached out to Queen's, particularly Aidan, I think I met him at an open day, One of my questions was the maths I'd been doing was very prosthetic related. Would there be a big difference between that and then studying software development? And he said not at all. He's like, that's a kind of a misconception about programming. He's like, of course there's maths involved in it, but it's not an overall ending field to it, and just don't be scared by that input. So I found the transition good and I've enjoyed it.
That's great. Thank you very much. So if now we could talk to Nicole. So Nicole's actually studying the same course as yourself, John. So that's the MSc in software development. So welcome, Nicole. If you just want to give us a wee bit about your background as well and how you came to study on the course at Queen's.
Yeah, no problem. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole. My background is actually in history and sociology. That is what I studied as an undergraduate degree back in 2013 now. I did that for 3 years in Dublin, so completely different to what I'm doing currently. After I graduated, I came back home to Fermanagh. I don't even live in Belfast. I'm not from there. I came back here and worked here for a few years, and then went traveling. It was always my intention to do a master's degree, but I hadn't really known what I wanted to do it in. I had a few friends from home who had done this course previously, and I reached out to them and asked them about their experience and how they got on. They highly recommended the course and also Queen's University. My video frozen.
It's okay.
So I reached out, as I said, and they had told me about their experience and how much they enjoyed being at Queen's. Obviously, it is a very prestigious university, and that's kind of what attracted me to it in the first place. Also, the fact that the degree offers a really good opportunity for you to gain employment at the end or during the degree. A lot of people do actually get jobs during the first year of doing the course. So yes, as I said, I reached out to friends and also friends who had been to Queen's beforehand. As I said, I didn't go to Queen's for my undergrad, so I wanted to kind of know what life would be like living up there. And I agree with John completely. I've had a really, really positive experience, both with the course and living in Belfast. I got accommodation which was fairly cheap compared to Dublin, and as John says, the cost of living is relatively lower in Belfast, so it really has made all the difference. And as the course is obviously challenging for me, I have no background in it, there is great support through the staff and through people that you meet on the course. They're always willing to help. So yeah, it's been a really, really great experience.
That's great, Nicole. Thanks for your input. So you've obviously touched on there that you've done your undergrad in Dublin and then are doing the master's obviously in Belfast. So how, in terms of some people may be familiar with Belfast, but we have some people that are thinking of coming to Belfast from further afield. So how has Belfast lived up to being a student city for you? Have you found it easy to commute, easy to find your way about?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a really buzz around the university area. Queen's is very central, like it's 10-minute walk into the city centre. Personally, I live only a 5-minute walk from the university. You also have the opportunity of living in Elms, the student accommodation, which I've heard is absolutely brilliant, and only 5-minute walk as well. There's a really good social aspect in not only the course, but also, as I said, around the university. There's a great student environment. And also for people who are maybe international and wanting to come over, there's plenty of opportunities throughout the year for you to go to events that Queen's put on. There's also every Sunday they have at the Students' Union a free breakfast from 11 to 1, which really encourages people who are there at the weekend, who have friends that have maybe gone home for the weekend and want to kind of meet new people. It really they encourage you to go there and get to know other people. And yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, I would encourage anyone overseas to really look into coming here, because it's absolutely incredible. It's a great city.
That's great, Nicole. Thanks very much for your input. So now that we've heard from the three postgraduate students that we have, we're going to open up the live chat. So just to make everyone aware, please put in your questions and we'll ask the students. As I said, we also have Claire, Louise and Anna from the faculty online that will be answering more course-specific questions. And just to make everyone aware, if there's a more sensitive question that you want to ask, you can also ask that privately, so it won't be shared with the group chat, but we will actually get back and answer that as well. So if I could welcome all of our students back again. There we go, and we'll just wait for some of the questions to come through. So I suppose one of the things that we've touched on is that the three courses that are the two courses that have been involved today have been conversion courses. So obviously, John, you had mentioned you had a bit of an interest in coding and you knew that that was maybe a route that you wanted to pursue. But it was quite interesting that, Nicole, you had said you had heard about the course based on friends and recommendations. So how have you found it in terms of coming into a course that's completely brand new to you, where you don't have a background in computing or in software?
Yeah, it was quite daunting at first, but because I had no experience, as we know. But the director did encourage us, Aidan, to look on online in tutorials just before we started, to kind of get our head around what we were going to be doing. But there's plenty of people in our course who are at the same level. There's loads of people who come from an arts background, and they really facilitate the learning process. They understand that, and they cater to your needs to support you in any way possible. And as John mentioned previously, if you're ever stuck, it's a really comfortable environment to open up a question in the lecture theatre, or stay behind at the end of the lecture or the tutorial, whatever it may be, and ask your questions. So it's been challenging for sure, but really rewarding. So yeah, it's been great, but challenging but great.
That's good. And then, so we've touched a wee bit on the graduate school as well, about the additional support. So for anyone that doesn't know, the graduate school runs several courses. I know they do like a coffee meetup once a week. They also run courses in academic writing. But as well as what's offered by the graduate school, I know that the Careers and Employability Service also have been quite helpful to our postgrads. So have any of you benefited from the career service? Yeah, John, I see you nodding there.
Yeah, I have. They ran a course alongside when our course started, just kind of outlining what interviews would be like with the job application processes for jobs within software engineering and software development. I find that really helpful because it's quite different to what my previous career would have been. So I think that helped me even mentally just prepare for what I would be looking at, and the kind of way I need to conduct myself when you're meeting different companies and kind of get involved from the start. And then I find as well that your CV is kind of tailored slightly different as well when you're applying for those jobs. So they run a service where you can submit your CV and then meet with someone one-on-one and kind of go through your CV and either tailor it in general or tailor it for a particular job application that you're applying for. And to be honest, I found that a really great help because before, my careers advice was kind of more of a one-taught lecture, where then the rest of mine was reading articles online. So having someone to be able to guide that was a great help. Great.
And Aoife, are you in agreement there?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure if the other schools didn't do this, but like the psychology department, in conjunction with the Careers and Employability Service, they actually got someone from careers specifically with a psychology background to come in and offer mock interviews for us. So I availed of that. So because I was applying for clinical psychology, I went along and I didn't really know what to expect, but the woman who ran it, you know, it was actually much more useful than I expected. Like, it was like a proper mock interview with the type of questions that you would get, and she had really useful feedback. And you know, when you're going to an interview, you don't necessarily know how you've come across, and you don't necessarily know if you've answered some things well or what needs work. So to actually have the chance to go through the process, which was actually, because it was somebody you didn't know, you did still have those kind of nerves about it, like not obviously the same as a real interview, but it definitely simulated the real thing. But then to actually get to talk to her afterwards about, you know, areas you can improve on and what came across well was, yeah, really, really helpful.
That's great. So just to make everyone aware, the chat box is still open, so please feel free to ask any and put in any questions that you have. If we don't get a chance to get around to it today, we will email you back as well. So just to touch on a wee question, I suppose, for all of you. So I'll start with Nicole, if that's okay. Nicole, what have the highlights been of your year so far?
The highlights would be, honestly, the kind of social aspect with the course. It's completely different to my experience in Dublin. My undergrad had a class capacity of about 500, so it was very difficult to meet people. And this course, there's about 120 max, and they really want you to engage with each other and get to know each other. And throughout the year, they kind of hold events, and at the very end, after we finish our Christmas exams, they hold a quiz and a kind of event to gather everyone together and kind of let off steam from the hard work that we've all done the past few months. And actually, just before COVID, we had planned a day out of events and activities that we were all going to participate in. And that's really allowed me to enjoy my experience so much more, because I really enjoy going to class every day, and I'm meeting people and meeting my friends, and also the support that the staff provide is exceptional. So that's been my experience, my highlights.
That's great. Yeah, it's also good as well, obviously, having that opportunity to mix with everyone and kind of create your network. So then obviously when you're in employment, you know, you have that network of people that you can keep in contact with, and you never know where your career could lead.
Yeah, absolutely.
So John, if I ask you the same question then, your highlight of the year so far?
Sure. I don't know if I have one in particular, but I would definitely agree with Nicole. Some of the lecture staff just have a really good way of kind of breaking down barriers of not making you feel like an idiot for asking a question in class. And I think that makes everybody just kind of socialize a lot easier and probably faster on than I was expecting. So yeah, I guess the quiz and those nights organized, and even just like kind of the coffees in between classes, I really enjoy, and just kind of chatting to each other, and everyone's kind of come from a different background. So I'd say out of the people that I socialize with, no one's done the same, you know, job or course before this, and are all different ages. So it's been really enjoyable. Actually, an academic side to it was probably, I think it was just before, well, I suppose it was just during COVID. Actually, we had a module where we kind of had to build a website. I think that was the first time, after learning all this different type of coding, there was something functional there I could actually mess with and enjoy seeing, and felt like I actually created something. So it was kind of cool to see all the stuff that we were being taught actually come into light, and something that I could show someone and be kind of proud of. So yeah, that was a highlight as well, so I'd say.
Yeah, that's great. And also the fact that you've mentioned, you know, again, a lot of people can think, as I've touched on, that, you know, you study your postgrad straight after your undergrad, but obviously you said the range of people, the range of age groups on the course is quite varied, especially for the subject that you're studying. So never too old to become a postgrad at Queen's. And then Aoife, if I could ask the same question to you.
Yeah, very similar. Just the different people that you meet on the course, the camaraderie, just being in, you know, getting to be around people who are into the same thing that you're into, and not feeling like you're boring people to tears talking about stuff that you're interested in. You know, just actually have that that group around you and getting to know people, and just from all different walks of life and different backgrounds and different subject areas, and you're like, gosh, and we all land at the same place, at the same thing, but all the different perspectives you get because of that. Academically, I've really enjoyed. I guess I'm a bit of a nerd. My background is physics, so I've really enjoyed like the statistics and getting to learn new statistical packages and playing around with Qualtrics for making surveys and SPSS. And yeah, I suppose as well, like once kind of COVID hit, working on a group project and just being able to just kind of dig away at, playing around with, with all of that, and feeling like you're becoming proficient at something new, and going, oh wow, I'm getting this. This is great. So, yeah.
So always learning something new. Then
Yeah.
That's good to hear. So obviously you've touched on the high points. Fortunately, we know there's it's not always highs, and there has to be some lows that come with that as well. So I suppose a question for each of you. I'll start off with Nicole again. What has been the down point, or do you have any regrets, or would you do anything differently?
No, I definitely don't have any regrets. Downfalls, not really anything except the fact that, last semester we had a project and I just found it quite difficult myself personally, but as we've mentioned like loads of times before, there is that help there, and they'll never see you stuck. It was a challenging period for myself because I just had, it was a completely different field for me to be in. But you work hard and you work through it, and you're always going to come out the other end. It's been great. Like I even got a job at the weekends up there, so that I could stay up at the weekends because I like Belfast so much. I really enjoy it. So very little to say negatively about the whole experience. Definitely don't regret it in the slightest. No way. Been brilliant.
It's great to hear. And John, if we pass on to you and ask you the same question, has there been anything you've struggled with, or anything you would maybe do differently?
I would. There's definitely, like, I suppose the truth is there's nothing really negative about the course or my experience. I've always enjoyed it. There's definitely times where you can't figure out why your code isn't working. You want to crack your laptop off your knee. But other than that, to be honest, I think it's those negatives always turn into positives, because once you've figured it out, you get really excited the fact that now you understand it. But I'd say it's the same as Nicole, that you're doing assignments that you've probably, like the same as myself, never had done before, so I had no real understanding of how to approach it. But by the end of it, you're kind of always feeling a lot more positive at the end of it, because you realize now, okay, the next time I tackle something like that, I know how to go about it. But there's been no negative main thing for me, I would say.
That's great.
Positive.
All good. And Aoife, if we come to you, has there been any challenges along the route?
Challenges, yes, but I can't say anything is negative. Like, I'm really struggling to think of anything that I would say is really negative.
Or maybe any challenges or things you would maybe do different?
I don't think there's anything I'd do different. I mean, obviously the situation with COVID is just really unprecedented and weird, and that throws a few kind of unexpected standards in the work that nobody could have anticipated. Not being in maybe with your friends to chat through things is a little bit disconcerting, but you adjust, and like the university adjusted and the lecturers adjusted, and everything. People made the best of a worst situation. So, like, you can only expect people to kind of respond and do the best with what they're faced with, given the kind of immediacy of that kind of challenge. And I think the university rose up to the challenge. The psychology department definitely did. You definitely felt like they had our best interests at heart, and you really appreciate that when you're kind of looking at it this point now. It was definitely weird having 24-hour exams. That was the weirdest thing ever. But again, you figure it out, you adjust, and everybody's in the same boat, and you make the most of it. So yeah, it's adaptable that way, which is great.
I think everyone's kind of adapted very well to the situation and to the new norm that we're in at the moment. Just to touch then on some advice that you would give anyone thinking of doing a master's, particularly at Queen's. So again, if you were speaking to your younger self, or if you were speaking to someone that approached you and asked, I'm thinking of doing this course, what advice would you give? So if I start with Nicole again.
Well, if you had the opportunity to speak to someone who has gone through that level of a degree, definitely pick their brains about it, and especially if you know people who have lived in Belfast and have went to Queen's, ask them about their experience. Also contact the school if possible, if you're an international student, and find out different events that are maybe held throughout the year, or just contact people, as many people as you can who have experienced the degree, or lived in Belfast or went to Queen's. That would be my advice.
And John, any advice?
Mine would be similar to Nicole. What I would say is, well, there's no silly questions. If I could tell myself something when I was first emailing, I was quite nervous about the way I constructed my emails and asked about maybe speaking to past students, or what to expect in the course, or material potentially to read before doing the course. People are quite personal and informal when they responded, which I find put me at ease quite a lot. So I think if you have any silly questions, just ask. There's no one, probably not going to remember you anyway, so there's no worries about that. So just go for it. But yeah, I would say same as Nicole, reach out and ask, can you speak to some of the past students? I did that, and I find the level of comfort I got from that and excitement I got was definitely a bonus. So I would recommend that to anyone.
That's great. And Aoife?
Similar. I don't know. It took me a long time to finally, take the jump, and all these things you're worried about not having an income, and what if you can't cope with it? And the reality is that you can cope, and everything will be fine. There's support there from your lecturers, from the staff, from your fellow students. Worst case scenario, you've had a year where you've got to kind of step back and think about things and reassess where you're at, and you get a qualification. It's not the worst thing in the world that can happen, and it's more likely going to be a very positive experience at the end of the day. Just things like, once you're, if you do decide once you're on the course, just managing your time well with assignments, and asking for help and taking the help that's there. There's loads of support. I mean, even for people who don't have maths backgrounds, for the statistics on my course, the university runs a maths and statistics help desk, and there's just so much support there. And the graduate school is brilliant, and the careers and guidance service is brilliant. And I don't know, just give it a go. If you're just give it a go. Yeah.
Give it a go. That's good advice. I'm just going to flick on to a slide here. So if anyone has any questions, there's two of the email addresses here. So studentrecruitment@QUB or Ask EPS. So if you have any questions that you want to send in to us at a later date, don't be afraid to do so. Also, the postgraduate side of the website also has quite a lot of information. So I know you've touched there as well. For example, Aoife and John, you've left careers to take the plunge into a postgrad. Just to make people aware, there are tuition fee loans. So depending on what part of the UK, Ireland, or the Republic of Ireland you're from, there are loans out there to help you cover the cost. So all that information is housed on our website. So just before we wrap things up for today, I suppose I'd like to I know that some of you are in the middle of exams or dissertation writing at the minute, but just again, last question, what does the future hold, or where would you like to be? Are you doing anything actively to following your dissertation or following your exams, or how do you think this has helped with your future career? So if I start there with Nicole.
Well, yeah, we just began our dissertation a couple of weeks ago there. Well, I mean, the course it lends itself to a very good opportunity to find employment and seek out employment. And throughout the year, they did hold events nearly every Tuesday that we got to go to. So it kind of, me and John were speaking before that we were different to some of our other classmates who applied for jobs last semester. But we personally found that we wanted to kind of find out what we were interested in throughout the year, and then apply that to different companies. So I definitely want to stay in Belfast for the foreseeable future and seek out employment there, hopefully. And yeah, it's going to be hard balancing trying to find jobs while doing a dissertation, but there's always help there. You know, you've got your supervisors and stuff, and just kind of staying on board with it and making sure that you kind of keep on top of it and keep seeking out companies, and yeah, just keep going for it. As I said, I definitely want to stay in Belfast, so fingers crossed.
And John, then how about you? Any plans for the future, or anywhere you'd like to see yourself working?
I'd say similar to Nicole. I find Queen's were very good at kind of breaking down the barriers of making you nervous to speak to employers. The Tuesday meetings I find were quite between formal and informal, but enough at the end that you could go up and have a chat and kind of get to know them. And they held different events as well for you to get to know different companies. So I find they definitely helped with understanding what type of role you potentially would like, because obviously the software industry is huge, so there's so many different styles of roles you can pick between. For the immediate future, I've applied for a couple of jobs. I'm not sure how well I've done there. I'm waiting to hear back, but I'm not too nervous about it, if I'm honest. I think there's good help there from Queen's. I think I'm just focusing on my dissertation, and I hope that at some point I'll get employed. But there's still employment happening during COVID. There was a lot before, so I think it's definitely they're positive for they'll be likely to get employed in the future. At least I hope so.
Yeah, and I know there, Nicole, you've touched on wanting to stay and work in Belfast, which is great, but I know there's also a lot of past students from your course. We've seen videos of them working in the likes of for Barclays in New York, also as well as in the local market. So I know there's lots of one of the subjects. There's a lot of opportunity for travel, but also for staying at home. So that's always good. And then Aoife, how about you? Any plans for the future?
Yeah, well, I decided to extend my career break, so I'm going to try and see if I can eventually become a clinical psychologist. It's a competitive route. It's a way to go, but you know, that's what I've got my heart set on at the moment. So it's just a matter of I guess building up that little bit of extra experience in order to apply again this year. So I'll be looking at, trying to find assistant psychology posts, but I've got my thesis to do over the summer, so that's really my priority. Like I decided this year that I wanted the course to be the priority and not to be worrying about working and stuff like that. Just focus on getting the best mark I can. So I'll start thinking about applying for
one hurdle at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, It's easy to say. I mean, like, I'm my worst enemy. Like, at the one hand, saying that, it's okay to not panic about it, but yet at the same time, it's like, oh my God, I'm panicking about it despite myself. But it'll be fine.
Yeah, well, I hope that's reassuring. I think all your input has been quite reassuring to anyone who's maybe thinking about taking the plunge and studying a postgrad. As you touched on there, Aoife, the worst case scenario, the worst thing that can come out of it is it's a year you've taken out, and you're going to come out with a qualification at the end of the day. So if that's the worst that can happen, it's not all bad. Just to wrap things up, just to let anyone listening know again, I see Donna has put some of the email addresses and the landing pages into the chat, so don't be afraid to copy them. We also have on our website a range of postgrad events coming up in the future. A lot of them hosted by the graduate school as well. So we do have some on innovation in terms of how to be innovative as a postgraduate, also on writing skills. So don't be afraid to have a look on our website and see what's coming up. But just to round off by saying thank you very much for your input today. I hope a lot of people have taken a lot from it and it's helped them with their decision about studying with Queen's in the future. And best of luck with the dissertations and exams.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.